Now, I saw Song of the Sea, which is done by the same company as Secret of Kells, and it's a very nice animated movie, but of course it's gonna have its obligatory trannies, and there's a bus scene where it has a 33 prominently displayed, and a few of the moments of effects animations feature 666. Sometimes you will see 666 pops up in strange places in cartoons, including Mickey Mouse shorts, where, for instance, if a character's yelling, there's going to be a 666 on the chin for no reason in only one scene, but you can only see it for like a few seconds. I'm not good at picking apart symbolism or getting into history and lore, but I'm pretty sure maybe you could actually find a person who's very well versed in those things that could probably pick apart the movie for you. It's on Netflix. Anyway, what really stands out to me as just a casual viewer that's not into any deep lore is it features a giant being turned into stone. You see that a lot. Oh, and also the fair folk being turned into stones. I suppose a casual American viewer might go, oh, he's got leprechauns turning to stone. And there's something about an owl witch sending out owls to steal everyone's feelings, and then they turn to stone as a side effect of having their feelings taken away and bottled. I don't know. Also, I kind of noticed a Peter Pan thing going on. You know, in Peter Pan, traditionally the overbearing father character, the Rex dad, is going to be portrayed, he's going to end up portraying Captain Hook. Like, it's a tradition for Peter Pan for the father and Captain Hook to be the same character. And there's kind of that here. There's this granny who knows what's best for you, and she has this owl motif, and the owl witch is the same person as the granny, and the father character is the same kind of a character as the very sad giant who got turned into a mountain. And also in Hilda, it features trolls, like the mythological creatures being turned into rocks, and I think that Frozen featured trolls for no reason, and the trolls had a rock motif, and the Don Bluth movie A Troll in Central Park had trolls that turned people into stone, so it's a little bit of the opposite, but still there's trolls and stone transformation association. Only, now I don't really know what's going on. I know that Satanists like to pervert things, so it's kind of interesting that in some variants the trolls will have been transformed into stone, or they will turn themselves into stone whenever they feel like it or under certain conditions, or there's a variant when they will turn other people into stone, although I think that one is rare. And it probably also reminds you of the Gorgon Medusa with the snake hair, and she was so scary if you saw her face you would turn into stone. There's a few songs about being turned into stone, and probably the best interpretation in my opinion of this, whatever it is, this theme of stone transformation, be it done or received or willing or unwilling, is that during the Great Flood there were horrible abominations that might be remembered as these cool stylized dragons that look cool and they can fly and they look neato, except these were probably really ugly deformed creatures that shambled around like horrible zombie monsters that shouldn't exist. And notably there's a lot of turtles and elephants that got turned into stone, and you know, I do wonder about elephants. I guess they're real, but there's something really strange about them. Were elephants on Noah's Ark? You gotta believe that the flood was real and that Noah's Ark is real. And it didn't have gorillas, and it didn't have platypi, and it didn't have zebras. But did it have elephants and seals? Oh, seals are featured prominently in Song of the Sea. And whenever I see those strange, bizarre creatures, and they're real, I have to wonder, was that on Noah's Ark, or did somebody figure out how to combine a dog with a dolphin? I'm starting to think it's the latter. Now, of course, this being a 33 Orange movie, Song of the Sea does paint the witch in a sympathetic light, but I do always have to say, good on you filmmakers for actually portraying all the characters as people with their own motivations and reasoning. They don't cop out and go, ooh, I'm gonna be evil because I like being evil. Like, no, they gave her some pretty good reasons for why she does what she does, so good on them for that. Oh yeah, and it features fake tranny Sacred Heart Jesus in just a few scenes, like, well, images in the background actually, kind of as an Easter egg. Catholicism is fake. Well, you know what I mean. I don't think there's even that many Catholics. I think they're just people in the club, you know? Okay, so in Song of the Sea, there's some stuff. I don't know much about Celtic mythology, and I admittedly don't know a lot about Inupiat mythology, but there's a connection here, and there's a lot of evidence that there was a time when all the world was kind of united, one voice, one language, yeah, before the Tower of Babel. And there's a lot of evidence for this. You just look into Lemuria. There's some really interesting stuff about Lemuria, and how so-called ancient cultures and ancient world is a hoax. This stuff happened recently. I don't know how recently, but it was. I don't think it even happened 1,000 years ago, maybe. Well, okay, here's the thing to keep an eye out for. Can you find anything going back more than 5 generations in your family that you are certain is true? Like, maybe you can verify that things have been going on for about 125 years, but can you look for anything beyond that? I know for a fact that trannies have been around for more than 125 years because we'll just look at really, really old trannies, and I'm going to point out a few differences between ancient trannies and modern trannies. Anyway, so in Song of the Sea, there's a part where the spirits of the mythological creatures, or the strange otherworldly creatures that got turned to stone, are freed, and they go up into the Aurora, which it's colored orange in this movie, and I've never been to Ireland, but where I live the Aurora is green. And there's folklore about the Aurora being the spirits of the dead, and there's some more really oddly specific, baffling stuff said about the Aurora in local lore. Like, there's ghosts of dead children playing kickball with a severed walrus head, and walruses might not be real, I don't know. And if you whistle, it'll come closer, and if you click, it'll go away. So if you keep whistling and drawing the Aurora closer and closer, your head will get bumped off by a severed ghost walrus head. Isn't that weirdly specific? Like, who comes up with this? But now, I don't know what the Aurora is. It's a big green ribbon that glows, and it snakes across the sky. Sometimes you can see it on a really... well, conditions have to be right. You're not going to see it during the summer, except for this one really weird time when it lit up. That was so weird, because it was during the day. In summer, the sun does not go... okay, I'll talk about it separately, but seasons are a little bit strange where I live. And during the summer, which is only about a 3-month period, it never gets dark. It only gets a little tiny bit dim. The sun can be gone, and the sky just gets a little bit dim. And sometimes the sky will light up, but the sun is not going to be around. It's like daylight and the sun are different, aren't they? And this one time during the super blue moon, the moon was blue and hauling ass across the sky. It was moving quickly, and it was blue, well, blue tinge. And it was like a headlamp. It was like a lamp lighting up a garage. You could just see the light scattering into the atmosphere, but you couldn't see... it just wasn't like the firmament was lit up. Daytime is when the firmament's actually lit up in your area, and the sun and moon are just lamps that float around. The moon is stealing our energy. Why is it doing that? I have a few complaints about the moon. Also, in the summertime, the sun just gets drunk and he doesn't show up sometimes. Like, if you actually track when and where you see the sun in the spring, there's going to be weird inconsistencies that NASA is not going to be able to explain because all they do is lie. But if you actually track the sun's movements in the springtime, there's going to be a day when it doesn't show up. I promise you. And it's just going to show up at any old random time it feels like showing up. Anyway, you can only best see the aurora when it's active and also when it's really dark and cold. And the sky is clear, making it extra cold. And so, seeing the aurora is kind of a conditional thing. But I don't know what causes it to be active. It's not solar flares because that is a lie. The sun is nothing but a lamp. And I just don't know. I think that thing is electric, but I just don't know what the aurora actually is and how it works and what makes it do what it does, where it's going or where it comes from. I don't even know if it's ghosts, because I think the Bible just says that after you die, you just kind of lay there in your grave on the earth until it's time for the resurrection, and then you get judged. So, yeah, but it's also kind of unclear, like, that beggar guy that always hung out outside the rich bastard's house. Apparently when he died, he just immediately got harvested and taken off to heaven, and the rich guy that ignored him just went straight directly to hell. So I don't really know how any of this works, so don't ask me. Well, this one time, this person claiming to be Irish also was bragging that they convinced a few Americans that leprechauns are totally, completely real. Here's the thing, those things might have actually been real once, and they probably got turned into stone during the flood. There's a few really good channels about mud fossils that you should just search for mud fossils, and the stones were once alive, and the mountains, they used to be giants, so those are dead giants. Think of all the children's media you remember where it had a dead giant being the mountain. And I kind of wonder something actually about the frozen mountains. If you just take a bunch of really cold rocks and you put them someplace hot, will the rock actually heat up? Will it match the heat of its environment, or is that rock going to be permanently frozen? That's kind of something I've been wondering, but I'm not going near those things. It's too cold for me. Some people have said that they've gathered up a bunch of little rocks, and when they were looking at the rocks, they found a lot of common shapes. Like, ones would be shaped like footballs would all have kind of grooves in the same spots, and they look like hearts. And other rocks look like livers and kidneys, and they'd all be colored the same, and they'd be the same shape, and more or less the same size. Now, actually, I'm going to have to do this when I can, which is going to be months later, but I personally have found some strange white rocks that don't look quite like organs, and they don't look like faces, but they all look the same. They look very alike. So months later, I'm gonna have to go out and gather up all those weird rocks and take photos of them because something weird is going on. Like, if that used to be a face, can you imagine what kind of a horrible abomination it belonged to? These were not pretty creatures. These were not cool creatures. They were ugly, disgusting, gloppy, little freaky monsters that got turned to stone, and they're better looking now as stone as I would imagine. They were probably just so ugly and repulsive. A lot of legends about fairies say they were not nice. Of course, you could also say, well, maybe those legends about fairies is just about praying mantids and they bite people sometimes. And you go, there's fairies in the bush, and you look in the bush and there's a bunch of mantids. I mean, that's an explanation, right? So, and another thing that Satanists like to do is try and be cute and make you feel sorry for them. They go, oh, look at the cute fairies. Oh, look at the cute thing with 10 heads or whatever. They just try and make everything look all cute or cool and appealing, but these things were just, they probably look like centaurs from Fallout 3. You know, like that's probably what they looked like. And they probably just got turned to stone. And something kind of related that I just do wonder about is now everything you're taught in history class is a lie. And it seems that whoever is writing the narrative for history classes has this weird obsession with chiseling. There's a really good video on YouTube that you should find about how historical artifacts are nothing but a bunch of failed art projects that look like complete and utter crap, like a third grader could do a better job or an equal job. And the narrators just, not of the video, but of the curriculum and the history of the world, just they're obsessed with chiseling. And if you look at the old sculptures, they were injected molded. Like, they weren't chiseled, they were molded.